Have you struggled to find different ways to play golf with a threesome? It's such an odd and unsettling number. You can't play 2v2 or scramble or best ball or wolf. What can you really play other than stroke play? Maybe Nassau? Well, you're in luck. Meet Niners, the golf game for 3 players exactly. It's competitive, easy to learn, easy to play, and yes, it's made for betting. You're probably itching for the game rules, so let's dive in and welcome back to the Golf Boss. Niners is a great game for betting. You don't have to bet, but as we all know, it makes it more interesting. If you're not planning on betting, you could skip to the next section, but we won't be long, so follow along. Before the round of Niners begins, the 3 players must agree upon and set the wager. A very common wager is $162 because this is how many points are in the entire round of Niners. This does not mean everyone pays $162, this is just the total pot. Everyone will expect to win points, so many of these dollars will be canceled out. Therefore, the total pot will be less. No matter the case, you must decide the wager. To make payouts easy, we recommend to use multiples of 162 or to cut 162 in half, such as $81 total wager. Once you and your partners determine the total wager, such as $162 for our explanation, it's time to determine the teeing order. The teeing order is simple to explain, and most of you probably are familiar with it already. It starts by flipping a tee or some randomizing tool to determine the order for the first hole. For all of the subsequent holes, teeing off will use the honor system. This is where the player with the best score on the hole tees off first on the next hole, and so forth. It's pretty simple to follow, especially in Niners, because whoever gets the most points per hole would have the lowest score, and the tee off first on the next hole. Now that we have the teeing order and wager set, it's only natural to explain how the scoring works. The game gives it away. There's 9 points on every hole. Niners, get it? Anyways, each hole has 9 points for a total of 162, which is why the most common wager is $162. The goal of Niners is to gain the most amount of points by the end of the round, and we'll show you how to accomplish this. In short, there are 4 different outcomes that could happen on every hole, and a conditional 5th, but we'll talk about that later. And to earn points, it's simple. Have the lowest score on every hole. We're going to go through some charts now to show you how the scoring works. Feel free to pause and write down the point system so you have them at a later date. First, we're going to start with the outcome where the players have a different score. In this instance, as you can follow along on the chart as well, the lowest score on the hole gets 5 points. The second best score gets 3 points, and the worst score gets 1 point, for a total of, you guessed it, 9 points. Now, we're going to fly through the other 3 outcomes since you understand how it works. Remember, there must be a sum of 9. That's it. Outcome 2, if 2 people tie for the best score, they both get 4 points, and the worst score on the hole gets 1 point. Outcome 3, if 2 people tie for the worst score, they each get 2 points, and the player with the best score gets 5 points. Outcome 4, all 3 players tie the hole. In this instance, the 9 is split evenly, and everyone receives 3 points. Make sure to rewind and take notes of the charts, because once you fully understand the scoring, Niners is very easy to play. There's one more option to make Niners scoring a little more interesting. It's called Blitz. Keep in mind that you don't have to play with Blitz, but if you do, it can swing the points majorly and make it so that you're never really out of Niners. The rule is super simple. If someone wins the hole by 2 or more strokes, they win all 9 points, and everyone else is left with, you guessed it, nothing. Say player A gets a par and both player B and C get a double bogey, the player A wins by 2 strokes, and the hole would be a blitz. Player A gets all 9 points. Again, it's up to you whether you want to play with blitz or not, but if you do, be prepared for an action-packed round. Maybe some of you have wondered whether you could play Niners with players of different skill level, because no one is truly ever with the same skill. Yes, you can, so let's dive into playing Niners with handicaps. If you've watched any of our other videos, make sure you're familiar with how to play golf with players of different handicaps. But if you're not, I'll run through it quickly. The player with the lowest handicap gets no strokes and plays normally. The other players with a net score based on their handicaps. So if player A has a 0 handicap and player B and C both have 2 handicap, players B and C both get 2 strokes each on the 2 hardest holes rated by the course. So if hole 1 and hole 2 are the hardest holes, players B and C would get 1 stroke deducted from their score on those holes, while player A would be playing normally, and that's it for handicaps. The higher handicaps get as many strokes as their handicap is above the lowest handicap player of the group, and they get those strokes on the hardest holes rated by the golf course. Playing with handicaps can be tricky to understand, and there's plenty of resources out there if you're still confused. So you finished your round and tallied the points, and player A with 90 points, player B is second with 40 points, and player C was last with 32 points. Remember, it always totals to 162 points. Before the round, the wager was set at $162, so every point is worth $1. Player A owes nobody anything because they won. Player B owes player A $50 because he was 50 points back off player A. Player C owes player A $58 because he was 58 points back from him, and player C also owes player B $8 because he was 8 points back of him. To summarize it, the winner owes nothing, second place owes the winner the number of points difference between their score, and last place owes both other players the difference between their scores. Note that if your bet amount is different, such as $81, then every point is worth 50 cents, or if you double the bet, every point is worth $2. Once you figure out how many points everyone owes or is owed, you can easily determine its monetary value. That's all we have for Niners, but before we send you out there, we should give you some strategy. It'd be rude not to, don't you think? Play conservatively and manage risk-taking. Niners is about gaining points however you can, and you don't want to give many up either. It's a game of give and take. If your opponents hit both bad drives, then maybe take a risk and swing a little harder. But if they both hit good drives, you want to make sure you're well in play, because giving up a hole without any ties can boost someone up the leaderboard. Our advice to you, play conservatively and look to tie the holes with great course management when your opponents make bad shots. Take risks and hunt pins, wait for the time to strike, and take advantage when the opportunities present themselves. We've covered scoring, handicaps, betting, we've got it all, but we forgot one thing, and that's for you to get out there and play Niners. Niners is a great game, and it adds a level of competition that you might not be used to. So here's your warning, you might be hooked. If you like this video and learned something, we would appreciate you smashing that like button and subscribing to our channel. Thanks for watching The Golf Vault, and we can't wait to see you next time.